Welcome to Exploring the Metaverse, where we explore the depths of virtual and augmented reality in the ever-expanding metaverse and what that is and how it applies to regular people. Today's guest, Mr. Paul Sampson, CEO of Licked. It's the leading digital platform helping content creators legally use the music they love without paying production company prices. Before Licked, there was no easy, affordable way for creators to use the music they love in their video content. In fact, millions of YouTubers, I'm one of them, were actively avoiding using their favorite songs for fear of demonetization and copyright strikes. It's a real bummer. Plus, the music industry was missing out on a huge opportunity for successful creators to promote their tracks and their content. I think you're going to love this content today. Paul is an awesome guy, and I could have talked to him for hours, and I hope you're going to enjoy today's episode. Thank you, Mr. Sampson. It is my honor, sir, to meet you, to have you here on the show. And I'm really excited. You know, I've had so many requests lately from different folks that want to chat. But your company, this Licked, sir, give me a little background. Talk to us about yourself first, Mr. Sampson. Paul, it's a pleasure to have you on this show, and I really am interested to hear what you guys are up to.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me. Licked. So let's start with, I've been putting music to picture since 2005, right? So what that's called in our industry is synchronization licensing, or sync licensing for short, and it literally means the synchronization of music to picture. So every time you watch a film or a trailer or a TV show or an advert, it's got music in it, right? That music is owned by someone that represents an artist, and someone has to either creatively pitch that music to win the spot for that song in the show or in the trailer or in the film, and then B, negotiate the rights to clear the song and make sure everyone involved gets paid. And that was my job for 12 years before I realized something, and that was largely that whether they were film companies or ad agencies or TV networks, they were just big production companies.
Absolutely.
And in 2015, 2016-ish, I realized that actually all of production companies' resources had been democratized to the laptop, the phone, and the home camera. And that the fastest growing production sector in the world was no longer business. It was individuals. It was user-generated content. And that the only resource available to big business that hadn't democratized in line with all the other resources was what I'd been doing, providing access to good music available to be licensed into your content. And, you know, I had one of those moments, Matthew, where I was like, whoever solves that is going to do really well.
And I mean, you'd never guess who it would be.
Yeah, well, then after you sit with it for a couple of days and you go, oh God, if someone else does this and I don't, and I realized it before everyone else, then I'm going to be really annoyed. So I started looking at it, and there was a developer that worked at the same company as me. And we would speak after work and have a pint and discuss the future. And I spoke to him about this opportunity. And we ended up taking the YouTube certifications, like there's exams and certificates you can get to learn the YouTube API and the CMS. And well, the reason we did that actually is because we looked at YouTube as the number one player in the UGC space at the time, and realized that there was an additional level of complexity involved in that YouTube has a piece of software called Content ID. Think of it as like Shazam, but
absolutely
YouTube in B2B, right? And what Content ID does is it fingerprints music. So if I'm Universal or Warner Music, I put my music into Content ID, it memorizes it, fingerprints it, and then allows me to take action every time one of my songs is played in a video, because YouTube will recognize it.
And they want to get paid.
Correct. Not only do they want to get paid, but essentially that was built to give rights holders ownership or more control over infringement of their copyright on YouTube. And so what they did was, the unintended consequence was that they created this vacuum on YouTube where if you did well enough on YouTube to earn money from your videos, then using commercial music, chart music, mainstream music would then lose you all that money. And it would lose you that money because Content ID recognized it. Content ID only presumed that you had infringed copyright, that you didn't have the rights to use that music, and it could rightly presume that, Matthew, because there was nowhere in the world to get the rights.
Absolutely.
And so I thought, if you're going to solve this, you've got to build a place where someone can access the rights. But before you even get there, you've got to work out if you can then build something that interacts with Content ID to inform it that this music is now legally available.
So it interacts with the API that YouTube provides. It's fantastic. This is so fantastic. I'm so excited to hear more about this.
And so we built some software. We call it Vouch. We call it Vouch because it vouches for our users, solves a problem. Excuse me. And then the concept was, let's build Spotify for creators, somewhere where you can search, audition, and then license your favorite songs into your YouTube videos without getting punished, without being penalized.
And it's shockingly affordable, I might add. Having looked at it prior to this conversation, like, I'm a YouTuber as well, and I'm...
Oh, you really?
Yeah, I am. And I had spoken to the folks who invited you and connected us here, and I did a brief read on a lot of the information, but I just had a big eye-opening realization just before talking to you of how incredible the opportunity to interact with Lick is for myself as well.
Yeah. Good. Well, I'm pleased to hear that. When we built it, Matthew, we built the tech, we realized it could work. And we went on this road show to the big music companies, right? And I really naively expected them to sort of hold me aloft their shoulders and say, "You've
yeah."
And that was really naive, because when it comes to adopting innovation, the music industry has only ever been slightly ahead of the Amish, right? Every innovation in the music industry has come from a third party, and the music industry pushed back against CDs and MP3s. And
if it ain't broke, they don't want to fix it.
Correct. And so it took a while. It took a while to sort of gain the confidence of the major players in the music industry. But today, we have 10,000 labels and publishers signed, over a million mainstream tracks available for licensing. There's 5 million delivered to us waiting to go live, and contracts signed for the next 40 or 50 million. So the dream of building Spotify, where we've got all the world's music, but for creators, is becoming very much a possibility. But that's Licked 1.0, right?
So that's the existing product that exists at licked.co that the people can experience today.
That's right. That's available. It's been up and running for a while. We add new music every single day. People like Lizzo and Drake just went live on the platform. Not everything they've ever released, but we're getting there slowly.
Yeah.
Because you need the buy-in from the rights holders. But over the last 3 years, we've become much more au fait and involved in Web3 and the Metaverse, and we're looking at it very closely. And we realised that actually, Lick's mission centrally has always been to democratize music for the world's creators. And as the digital landscape evolves, what qualifies as one of the world's creators includes brands, and it includes builders of properties in the metaverse, right? Or builders,
which you
in the metaverse.
Yeah, you said at the beginning, it's like the everybody, like, so many people are becoming these end user content creators. And the end users are becoming the content generators, and you're sort of building this bridge between the builders of content and the owners of music, and basically the people who experience these content are the ones that are benefiting.
Well, correct. And when we think about democratizing music for the world's creators, what that means for us is every time there's a new opportunity that we recognize that music could monetize to the benefit of artists, to the benefit of songwriters, to the benefit of labels and publishers and IP holders, then we know the music industry isn't going to act quickly, and it can't act cohesively. It's a very fragmented business, right? And what we think to ourselves is, well, is that opportunity solvable? Is the solution providable by innovative tech? If so, we should be the ones that build it. And then we prove to the industry, just like we did with Licked 1.0, here's the new tech. Here's how you can plug in your music to this tech, and here's how we can build a commercial model that is scalable, that enabled by technology that can suddenly earn the music industry new revenue streams. And it occurred to me on a quick tour of a metaverse platform that the metaverse sounded crap.
Yeah, it's not perfect, is it?
No. And, you quickly get involved in forums and all these debates about whether it looks good and whether or not it's being attended in the sort of numbers that the big players might have hoped for early on.
It's so fragmented. It's still in its absolute infancy, right?
Correct. And but the very basic thesis for us is if it can't be as close to a real life experience as possible, notwithstanding all the benefits of it not being a real life experience, then people aren't going to engage with it very well. And I can walk into any bar or any cafe or any library or any communal space in the UK and hear commercial music.
Yep.
And what I realised, Matthew, was that
same thing in Canada.
Well, correct, right? So the point there is that the bars, shops, cafes in Canada are licensing the rights to play music in their stores from a Canadian local society, and in the UK from a UK local society. And the use case for there to be a decentralized global right for a global use case has never existed, and therefore the right has never been defined or granted. And so doing this in the metaverse is very difficult. And we set about saying, hang on a minute, what if we define the right? What if we simultaneously build a player that works in the metaverse that can read coordinates and therefore stream different playlists into different venues simultaneously? And we define the rights and get them opted into Lick 2.0 or this new product we call Chorus. Then we've got a really scalable opportunity for the music industry and for everyone involved. And it's only going to increase the levels of engagement, the levels of satisfaction, levels of interaction in the metaverse for everyone involved. I like things where I can look at it and say, does everyone in the value chain win?
Yeah, the win-win-win.
Yes.
And as an end user on the YouTube platform, I mean, it's the difference between that sort of canned copyright-free music and, the popular trending songs or just well-known classic hits. It's they have an emotional connection. People have an established they have that emotional drive that comes from that experience. And if you can help to incorporate that experience and sort of bring it on the same level as those cafes and bars and places like that, it really does increase the appeal of, a barren digital landscape that is not yet defined.
Exactly. Well, my first tool of, I won't name which one, but of one of these metaverse platforms, I went to a jazz bar.
Yeah.
And it was playing stock music jazz. And we went to a techno bar, a techno club, and it was playing stock music techno. Now, what chance have these people got of retaining an audience or getting them to engage, because they're coming for a much different experience from the one they're getting? And we looked around at what was happening with music in the metaverse, and I noticed a couple of things. One is, the press-worthy stuff and the notable stuff happening in the metaverse is all big, sexy opportunities with huge names, right? My artist is playing in Fortnite. My artist is playing in Roblox. Yeah. Snoop is dropping NFTs that generate $40 million. Well, that's all great and necessary and good, right? But how many artists can generate $40 million from an NFT drop? What real value is there from the NFT drops that went out early days? And how many acts are going to be selected to perform in Fortnite and Roblox? These are big ticket items that cost a lot of money, that generate a lot of revenue for the music industry and for artists, but they're not scalable.
No, they're one-off events.
Correct. You can't put 4 million acts in a concert or Fortnite or Roblox every day. You'd lose your audience. People wouldn't retain. Some of them would be really poorly attended. And how many acts could generate that amount of money from an NFT drop?
Such
Not
a
many.
small number. Yeah.
Exactly. So what is the scalable opportunity for the music industry in the metaverse? For me, it's about creating atmosphere and engagement in every venue for every user. And we ended up signing a partnership deal with Vegas City on Decentraland.
Oh, yeah. A big platform.
Yeah. So Vegas City has, I don't know, I'm guessing, don't quote me on this, but 20-25% of Decentraland, right? They bought a lot of land. It's the most well-attended part of Decentraland. There's more brands and activations there. And we signed a deal with them to provide a background music solution.
Wow.
so that their venues, or they can offer their customers, people that are building properties, the ability to have it sound good. And that is an incredibly scalable opportunity, not least because there's, 70,000 venues in Decentraland alone?
That many already, hey? Wow.
No, sorry, not already. Parcels of land.
Yeah.
Opportunity for venues. And God knows how many platforms that have similar sorts of numbers. It's not only scalable for the music industry in terms of revenue, but it's scalable in terms of how many artists are going to get played in 300,000 venues. What is the opportunity for discovery, right? It just makes perfect sense to be doing this, and that's where Licks is going.
It does seem like this perfect little cog that just completes the machine. There's all these individual components that are each completely necessary, but yet still in their own, separate bubble. That the music industry, the developers of the virtual platforms, and the back end systems, and this content ID. I think bringing it from YouTube as an example, and having something in place in the early days is really going to be, I just feel like you are just going to be driving that experience for everyone on all of the platforms. And you were mentioning about the back end system and how you can broadcast simultaneously to multiple platforms. Yeah. So it's like an open API system that individual developers can access and connect.
So it's not quite that. What I mean is, let's imagine that you're walking down a high street in the metaverse, right? In an open metaverse platform. The open metaverse platforms are trying to essentially recreate the physical world, right? And the appeal of the high street in the metaverse. So I should be able to walk along a high street and go into one bar and decide I don't like it and exit, go back on the street and walk into the next bar or retail outlet or shop, whatever it might be. Well, our aim is that each of those venues can select music to be playing. But of course, there's no ears or walls in the metaverse, right? We have
spatial audio.
Correct. So how do we get Avatar A to be able to walk into venue A and hear playlist A, but recognize when that avatar exits the venue and stop delivering that playlist to the avatar because he's now on the street?
Yeah, he's transitioned to the next phase.
Correct. And then allow that avatar to enter venue B, where he needs to be delivered playlist B because the venue is selected. So on the same high street, you might be looking at it aerially and it's mute, but we need to deliver an experience that allows you to go into any of those venues and be hearing the specific playlist that venue has chosen only while you're in the confines of that venue. And that's what the technology needs to do, is to be able to read the blueprint of the land and the coordinates to say when the token passes over a certain coordinate, that avatar is no longer in that venue and therefore should not be delivered that music stream.
So foundational. It's so interesting. I really love this. I think it's so incredible. As a futurist, as a virtual world enthusiast, I find it to be fascinating. And I think it's the kind of subject, like one of the reasons I'm so excited to talk to you today and to share this with the listeners is that it's the kind of subject that the regular person who hasn't been working in the music industry might not really give much thought to and might not realize, how much of an impact that's going to have on, especially someone who's never been into any kind of virtual environment to have it feel human in that way, to have it feel authentically, air quotes, real, to have that personal feeling, but also in a way that we're not ripping off people who have put in their hard work and effort to make music and to support the companies who own the rights to the music. And it's really incredible. How do you feel that the metaverse is growing? Do you think that we're, at what stage of development do you think is society in terms of latching on and getting into that sort of, mass market adoption? I see more references to it. I hear more about it, but what's your take on the state of affairs right now?
I was having this conversation with someone. Having told someone last night that I was coming on this podcast, the whole table got into a debate about the metaverse and the likelihood of its adoption long term.
Yeah.
I had a really interesting conversation. Look, for me, it's inevitable, right? I think probably everyone listening to this podcast and creating this podcast believes quite ardently that we're heading to some sort of world where some sort of everyday interaction is taking place in the metaverse for at least 2 generations at a time, right? It may not be for the generation above me, but there'll be people in my generation and the 2 beneath me that will be having some interaction in the metaverse on a weekly basis. There are interesting applications of Web3 and the metaverse, even in communal virtual office space.
Absolutely.
Right? And increasingly, I think in a world post-COVID where everyone wants hybrid working, you're going to see better applications of that. So even if you don't think you're a metaverse adopter, you might end up in a virtual space working with people, and that, in a way, is the metaverse, right?
That's the thing. That word has almost been, dare I say, bastardized by a very popular social media company who's really misconceptualized the entire topic at large and perhaps stalled progress overall because public perception is skewed that there's only one Meta. Well, that's just Mark's company. That doesn't count for the hundreds of thousands of other incredible, massive, forward-moving projects out there helping businesses and consumers alike, right?
You're so right. Like, at least twice in the conversation I had around the table at the pub last night, we watched the World Cup final, and then someone said, so is it going to work, or is he going to fail? Is it going to work, or is he going to fail?
Yeah, they're not linked.
You're talking about horizons specifically, right? You're not talking about the metaverse. And to some people, they don't understand that there's, thousands of companies out there building their own platforms.
Yeah. It's super exciting, and it might be something you first encounter at school or at work or to go shopping or to, for many different applications or gaming or, there's it's not just one social media company. And I think that's one of the things that really made me want to create this, is that we can bring these interesting aspects of the future to everyone.
So to answer your question more specifically, right, and outside the confines of Meta, I fundamentally believe that there's not enough foundational work being done by brands and or entertainment companies in the metaverse, right? What's happened is we've got these tentpole events and these huge press-worthy moments, pop-up activations, but essentially what we've done is we've shown everyone the renderings for the penthouse, but we haven't laid the foundations for the building. We need to excavate the land and put the steels in and the concrete. And that's what needs to happen with what we're doing in the music space, needs to happen across all others. Like you said, people feel a fundamental personal connection to their favorite music. And they just don't understand, and nor is it incumbent on them to have to understand the complexities of music rights. So they want to walk into a place and they do not understand why it's not playing music that they know and love.
Yep.
Right?
And it won't feel alive if it's not.
Correct. And nor should they have to understand why. The very foundation of the metaverse should be getting these things in place first. It's not going to happen without the cooperation of the music industry. It's not going to happen without technological advancement. And that's where Lick sees itself. I always talk about us being a micro-licensing music solutions company. Wherever there was opportunity to generate revenue for artists and writers at scale through micro-licensing, while the rights holders focus on the big ticket items, right? we should be building the tech to enable it. And this is just one of 3 areas at the moment where we're building tech for the future to enable more micro-licensing opportunities. But I think that's true probably across most activation in the metaverse, that we're looking at, well, how can we get press? How can we get 1,000 people through the door on this activation on day one? Well, actually, we need to be looking at how do we get 1 million people just walking down the high street on a more regular basis to see what's there.
Keep building more and more value and making it a thing that is relevant to regular people and provides that value in a regular day.
Yeah, and also, like, we speak to a lot of these metaverse platforms, and they are all, some of them will be, let's say, not over the moon necessarily about where the numbers are in terms of active dailies, right? Visitors, I mean. But they're still incrementally building, and that runs to bandwidth, and that runs to brand activations. Once they get a groundswell or tipping point of brands and activations in one place, where it suddenly becomes somewhere you're going to visit more than once because you didn't get to experience everything, then they'll be able to retain users more. So it's about them building the bandwidth and getting people across the line to do more permanent activations, and then I think it's going to fly.
I think so too. And not everyone, but I meet so many people who are starting to really see this vision. And this is why I want to just continue to meet incredibly interesting people like yourself who, perhaps humbly so, are building the future. You're setting the stage, the sound stage for the next generation, for our children and their children. And in whatever way this manifests itself, if we can take care of the humans and get those artists paid so that their valuable work remains valuable, we're really helping humans move forward.
I totally agree, and the what winds me up, what gets my goat, right, is just the thought, like, when you think about the use case of music in the metaverse. I spoke about the concerts and the NFT drops, right, and then you've got I think we're going to see metaverse platforms. There already is one, I think, called Musaverse. There's music space that allows people to create music collaboratively together.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
really interesting. Right, that's going to bring people together. But the other one is about setting mood, setting engagement, right, and atmosphere, and that's where we sit at the moment. That there is a gold rush to the metaverse at the moment, right? And everyone's looking at these big shiny tentpole things, and what Lix is saying is, well, hang on, you're all going to need buckets and spades.
Yes.
And without a bucket or spade or a sieve, you cannot sieve for gold. So if you're going to go that way, pick up this tool, because without it, you're screwed, right?
Yeah.
We won't be the only people doing it, but foundationally, there needs to be more people in the metaverse looking at the buckets and spades and the foundations and saying, here's how you build well. Here's how it looks and feels and sounds and engages like real world.
I couldn't agree more. That's why I'm trying to talk to all of you beautiful people and to get the word out to the interested individuals and to help, to make it less scary, to make this subject more easily understood. And I love that I can learn something new. I had no idea until just before this show how this incredible platform is going to help me as a creator in my endeavors, in other avenues, and how it can make content more engaging and more valuable, and how that provides, a foundational business opportunity to improve products for creators, which is one of the largest growing industries in the world. Every kid wants to be a YouTuber, and those kids will be creating three-dimensional worlds in no time. My 13-year-old, to him, that would probably just seem like, all right, Dad, sure, let's just we'll just make a metaverse. Like,
well, look, there you go. Like, if your kid wants to explore the metaverse, not to steal you.
I think they should.
Off title, yeah.
Yeah.
And then they meet like-minded people, and they all like a certain genre of music. It would make perfect sense for there to be a venue where they can go and communally enjoy that music, right?
Absolutely.
If they found out by doing that a week in they were breaking the law and the venue was shut down, they would just go, this makes no sense. We are paying homage to our favorite acts. We are just trying to enjoy their music collaboratively. The opportunity for artists is to directly own their fan base.
Oh, I love that. And at a foundational level, I love that so much. The decentralized payment system that recognizes individual creators, and I think it accentuates an already incredible opportunity.
Totally, but what's happening at the moment is it would be deemed copyright.
Absolutely. Oh, and I've actually met creators who have started their YouTube channel. They are live broadcasting, for example, and they get in a couple weeks in, they're playing their music in the background, they have no idea, and maybe this is the next great upcoming individual, but they're just getting started, and then they get the copyright strikes, and then they get shut down, and they're just deflated, and now they're just stuck with a few kind of copyright-free options, and it stifles the excitement, and it sort of shuts down something new before it even gets off the ground.
Right, and we're trying to stop that happening in the metaverse, right?
Can't wait.
It's just nonsense that people shouldn't be able to enjoy communally their favorite acts, their favorite music. That's why they're going there, to meet people from all over the world that share their commonality. You might not have that in your community in Utah, right? But you might find your tribe online, and
they are there
with them in the same way. So we have to sort of hold the music industry's hands, make them aware of this opportunity and why we think we're the partners to deliver it for them.
I sure do.
Whilst not touching their big tentpole sexy items that deliver big ticket, big revenue, because that's not our right to do that. There's an interesting debate to be had, I think, Matthew, about the fan ownership piece we touched on, because most people don't know this, but artists don't own their own music, right?
Not usually.
Yes. Now, if you're independent artists, if you're unsigned, you do. And I think there's a different use case for the use of NFTs for indie artists in terms of building a community and building loyalty, because the artist 100% owns everything about the music. But when you're a major act, you've got the opportunity to create, a fan zone, if you like, and directly interact with your fans. But the moment you put music in anything you're selling,
even if you are the one singing it and writing it, but you don't own it,
you're putting in a legacy business model, right? Where you are the minority stakeholder. And I think there's something interesting to learn from that for the bigger artists to say, well, what does my fan engagement look like? And how often should it be incorporating my music? Should it be looking more at virtual? I hate that word. I hate most portmanteaus, but virtual merch, right? And or one-offs like meet and greets, conversation areas, spaces, right? Like Twitter does. But how can you do that in the metaverse?
Yeah.
And use NFTs to create long-term brand loyalty and engagement without necessarily always cutting in the legacy business model.
It's exciting. You guys are incredible. I think you're really moving the space forward, and I think the more people can find out about Licked, the better. Paul, thank you for taking time to talk to me today. Is there other upcoming events? Is the company working on any further promotions or community building activities? Where can people find you and keep up with what is going on beyond the webpage, which is lickd.co? Yeah. I'd love to know what else is going on that the people can catch up with.
Well, we are the Metaverse products. We are calling Chorus, CHORUS, just the regular spelling. If people search Licked on Chorus, they can get in touch with us about that product. But we will be going live within the next month, within certain venues in Vegas City.
Fantastic.
With the beginnings of the chart music that we've signed for this product, which is not everything we've signed for the YouTube product. We're back at step one.
So they're all brand new licensing deals.
Yeah, we have to go back and do all the same deals with the same 10,000 people and add in this particular right. Well,
if it wasn't so important, boy, oh boy.
Yeah, it's backbreaking work, but we've got a great team doing it. But I can tell you, like, we'll probably announce in the new year who the founding rights holders are that have got this early and have opted into this and making it possible. And there's some big names in there that are going to mean that the early venues in Vegas City that adopt this are going to sound a lot better than anything else in the marketplace. And that's the beginnings.
It's fantastic. This is seriously so exciting. Is there any other social media links that you would like to drop? Any sort of Facebook groups or Instagrams or Twitters or TikToks or any of the above?
We are at Get Licked on all socials. So if anyone wants to get in touch, they can do it there.
Oh, you're the winner. Thank you very much for being on the show today, Paul Sampson.
Thank you so much for your time and the invite, man. I really enjoyed the podcast.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure. I really love having you here. Thank you very, very much.
All the best. Take care.
I hope you've enjoyed today's episode of Exploring the Metaverse and our conversation with Mr. Paul Sampson of Licked.co. Incredible guy. I could have talked to him all day. If you want to talk to me or suggest a guest for the show, you can send me an email directly, ExploringTheMetaverseTogether@gmail.com. That's ExploringTheMetaverseTogether@gmail.com. We've got a Facebook page, an up-and-coming YouTube channel, all under the Exploring brand. Don't be afraid to hit me up. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for listening.